Hey everybody, welcome to the YouTube show. I'm Chris. I got Craig with me. Joe's got a family matter tonight, so he's taking a week off. He'll be back next week. But in his place, or in Joe's place, we have a special guest, Craig's wife, Crystal.
Yeah.
For her first time for the whole segment that is planned. Crystal, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. I think this is a new first for our podcast. I know we've heard Crystal in the background on some podcasts. I think people know her, know who she is, but this is the first planned appearance by one of our spouses. Craig, this is was on my other podcast that I do Wednesdays. My wife came down one night and sat for half the podcast, and that's
Yeah.
back when we were doing like 45-minute, hour-long segments, and it was very disconcerting. The two guys that do the podcast with Wednesday was like, "Oh crap, is Chris going to be yelled at or divorced or anything?" But no, it turned out to be a fun segment. But it was very nervous. We didn't know it was going to happen. It was just spontaneous. But Crystal planned this. This is good.
Yeah. Well, we sometimes you gotta call in the substitutions, and who better to do that than my wife?
We do a YouTube segment, Crystal, as you know. Um, of all the crazy stuff we do in this podcast, probably would YouTube be the one you most want to be on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she likes YouTube. She
Yeah.
watches stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine like Crystal be talking about the Steelers one night or anything else like that.
No, she's not a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
Okay. You've heard the other YouTube segments. Have you had a favorite YouTube video of the ones that Craig has seen before? We'll talk about this week's in a second, but before we get there,
I don't know. I don't. Do you have a favorite one or?
Craig's whispering advice. So
I haven't really gone on YouTube in a
okay,
while.
all right.
I think
I
she's
kind of get
liked.
this. I kind of get the suggested videos
Yeah,
and pitch them.
I think she'd like the Mr. Beast videos that we've done, and maybe the Dame drops. Who knows? I think she'd like Dame drops.
Crystal, when this thing first started, I wasn't really into any of these creators, but now, I mean, not recently because there's more football to watch, but and Big Brother, that's another show for another time. But now I'm starting to watch a lot more of these videos, Crystal. So hopefully you're going to be a lot more into this once we get going on this. Um, so let's get to this week's one. Craig, tell me about this guy that we're watching tonight.
Yeah, so we're going to be watching now. He's mostly known for his TikTok videos, where he's able to condense a whole little cooking show into 1 minute, 1.5 minute videos on TikTok. But Dylan Hollis, a really cool follow on TikTok. This is a guy. He's actually from Bermuda. He's born and raised in Bermuda, but he went to college, I believe, in Wyoming, and he lives in Wyoming now. And basically spends his time on social media baking or cooking various old recipes that he's found through old cookbooks, or it could be from the Depression era. I've seen recipes from as early as like 1906, and sometimes they hit and they're really good, and then sometimes he makes some faces that they're not so good. So
Okay.
tonight we're talking about, which seemed very interesting, tomato soup cake from 1950. And
Hmm.
in this video, he actually takes the first couple of minutes to sort of explain his maybe, I guess you could say, hatred for the advertising side of things, as Campbell's was trying to advertise like, hey, buy more soup, buy Campbell's products. And they made it like this viral sensation back in the 1950s to buy Campbell's soup to make soup cake. And he goes through the process where, if you watch any of his other videos, especially on TikTok, where he basically just he follows everything he can with the recipe. Sometimes the recipes are so old he doesn't even know what the measurements mean, and he's got to try to find out or Google or whatever, which is kind of fun too. But he's very entertaining, and he always has a lot of fun and energetic. And in this case, he makes some things where you just can't imagine them being any good. And after he tries it, he's like, "You've got to try this, or this was a lot better than expected." And this was actually one of those where the tomato soup cake turned out to be a pretty good cake, and he made it twice actually, so he could try it with a different frosting. So he's really just a cool follow. I like following him, and he kind of shows off some of his cooking skills, and he makes it seem like you could do it too. And it's not too professional. He just has fun with it.
Well, I got a couple questions for Crystal because even watching this on mute, some things have popped up here that I want Crystal's opinion about. First of all, and Crystal, I made the mistake once of like at a time where my wife was at home working on some stuff from home. You never use the word housewife, and she was Dylan showing an article that was written back then about tips for housewives. Yeah, if husbands today say housewives, they probably get smacked, right?
Honestly, no. I've grown up
okay.
with the term housewife. Like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a housewife. I mean,
Okay,
probably in
well,
the
that's good.
professional world you wouldn't use that, but I mean, I'm used to it, so I don't really find anything wrong with it.
Okay.
It's certainly a job. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like any other job. You're taking care of things or whatever it may be. I mean, some people don't get into that, some people do, and some people kind of in between.
Or homemaker.
Homemaker, yeah.
Homemakers, yeah.
Yeah, I think home, and I think that's one of the lessons we've learned in 2022 that when I mistakenly use the word housewife, I wasn't meaning it inappropriately, but I think sometimes people get the wrong at the end. Homemaker may be a safer word overall. Two other things that came up right away for you, Crystal. Tomato soup cake. Now, stuff. I'm seeing him cook it, and it doesn't look terrible. But if somebody said, "Hey, I'm making tomato soup cake," that just doesn't sound great.
It doesn't. I mean, you would look at it or hear it and say, "Ew, tomato soup and cake." I mean, you like tomato soup, you like cake, but would you ever mix them?
Right.
But like I've grown up, like my mom has a recipe that she got from her mom for mayonnaise cake, and I mean, it's very dense, but it's very good.
Wow.
Craig here, he doesn't like mayonnaise, and he's tried it, and he's actually liked it.
Yeah.
Don't tell him what's in it, but he likes it. So, I mean, the kind of clashing of the two ingredients does it sound very appetizing, but I mean, you'd be surprised at it. I mean, I wouldn't mind trying it maybe one time.
Yeah, I'm a very finicky eater, and I don't know how Craig reacts to this, but my wife can be mean because, like, we'll eat something, and she's looking at me the whole time, like, "Oh, do you like it? Do you like it?" And I'm like, yes. Why?" She's like, "Well, you'll never guess why I put it." And, it's nothing horrible. It's just something that I normally don't like because I'm very finicky about stuff. But when she says that, I get a really scared look on my face, like, I put my hair in it, or something like that.
Poison, yeah. Well, it's funny because, I mean, the thing, I can at least say, look, I get mayonnaise being in a cake sometimes because it can help create some moisture and keep the moisture alive in there. I had a hard time with tomato soup cake only because I don't really like tomato soup. That's the one thing I don't really like.
Is he spraying chocolate frosting on it?
Yeah, so he actually makes, and this is another cool thing about him, he doesn't just go to the store, buy a store-bought frosting. He actually made a vanilla frosting, just like a I don't know if it was a buttercream frosting the first time, but then he actually made, at the end when he did the cake again, because they said, you got to make it with this creamy chocolate frosting, where he makes this chocolate frosting. And from what he said, when he first tasted it and he liked it, he couldn't believe it because it didn't taste like tomato soup. It didn't taste like the tomato flavor didn't come across. It actually, he said, tasted more chocolatey than it did tomatoey, which I was surprised about because I'm guessing it's just the way the soup reacts to all the ingredients from creaming the butter and all that kind of stuff. And maybe the sugar kind of overtakes some of the tomato soup flavor, I'm assuming, but he said it was really good. And I mean, it's funny because he's made other things where, it just doesn't turn out very good. I mean, there was one where it was like ice cream coleslaw, which looked disgusting, and it was disgusting according to him. But then he's made, my wife watched one where I sent her one of La Choy noodles, those like little oniony straw noodles or whatever they are, and you put them with chocolate, chow mein noodles. and you put them with chocolate and peanuts or peanut butter or something, and it makes like a nice salty sweet snack. He's done like 3-ingredient peanut butter cookies. I mean, he's done a lot of cool different things where I feel like you could definitely do it. And that's what's fun about it. And also kind of wondering like how people ate in the 1940s or during the Depression era, during World War II when they were trying to conserve ingredients and conserve things. So he kind of does a lot of that stuff and it's really fun.
Yeah, Crystal, the other thing I was thinking about, Craig and I have been over this. It seems like every guy we talk to be a YouTube personality, sometimes you have to be really outgoing, really personable. We had one, I think it was like what, Kristen Riker maybe, who her videos didn't really show anything. I mean, didn't show herself. She was just taking the videos. This guy seems to be a little bit more outgoing. Crystal, if you're going to start watching YouTube shows, do you want your main person to be more outgoing? Does that kind of draw you into the videos?
I mean, I think it depends on the video, but yeah, I mean, I could see the point of somebody just showing something because they don't want themselves on camera and they just want their main focus is to show you what they're doing.
Okay.
And then like this guy is very energetic and very excited about what he's doing, and I mean, I like that is one of the best things about the video, him being excited about what he's doing. So
And he makes fun of like some of these recipes when he opens up the books and it's like from the 1900s and it's early 1900s and he's trying to figure out like the measuring scale for some people, and he'll make fun of it while he's making it. Like it'll say something like aggressively beat this or mix this aggressively or something where back in the 1940s a word didn't mean the same as it means now in 2022. So he might yell at the batter when he's doing it because it says like do something to the batter or whatever. So he kind of makes fun. He's really an interesting kind of character. I mean, he's if you watch some of his other TikTok videos, he does other things than just cook. Where he's got like this old vintage truck that he drives around Wyoming, and he talks about the bad weather and trying to survive, sort of so to speak, I guess you could say, in a cold climate when he's from Bermuda originally. Just a good kind of like the perfect kind of character for even though that's himself. I don't think he's playing a character, but it's like the perfect personality for TikTok, for YouTube, insert whatever social media you can think of.
Well, Crystal likes guys that. Well, that sounds weird. Crystal likes YouTubers who are more energetic, which is great.
yeah.
And so, Craig, I think you guys' homework for the week. Pick out a 24 hours Dame Drops, eats whatever the person in front of them eats. I think, Crystal, you'll love it. Craig doesn't like Dame Drops.
I think Crystal would like Dame Drops. I don't mind Dame Drops' personality. It's just too much over the course of like his former videos being like a half hour. So,
okay.
Like I don't mind Dame Drops in like short spurts, and I think that's where he's best at, best served. But this whole like let's have a 30-minute video of him, having the car ahead of him order their food, that's too much.
All right. Crystal, you gotta tell me what you think about Dame Drops.
She'll watch some Dame Drops, yeah.
I think I'm in love. I mean, well, I don't know if I love Dame Drops, but it's been after a long day of what I do. It's nice to watch some Dame Drops. It was pretty good.
I get it. I mean, when his videos are like less than 15 minutes, I think that's his sweet spot.
Yeah, I really do. It's totally ridiculous. Well, I just did. I paid B. Dylan Hollis a big hat tip. I mean, I'm watching him on mute, and I'm like, I gotta see some more. So I gave it the Chris subscribed. So B. Dylan picked up another subscriber in the last couple of minutes, and
great, absolutely. Yeah.
When I subscribe to someone, I generally watch all their videos, so I'm sure he'll get a bunch more views in the next little bit from it. So should be pretty good. Crystal, is Dylan somebody you would subscribe to?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Fair enough. So sounds good. What else can we talk about with old B. Dillon? Anything else pop up for you guys?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's I didn't even know he really had YouTube. But I've always liked him on TikTok. I've been following him now for probably well over a year now, and every now and then he pops up with a fun recipe, and some of the stuff that he's done. He did a peanut butter soup one time. He's made like homemade peppermint patties, which I remember that I think he loved, from 1946. He's done a lot of cool things, and then he's also done things where you're just like, how on earth could anybody think that that's a good idea? He actually did a chocolate mayonnaise cake, like my wife was talking about. So that I mean, but he did like a spam pie as well. So spam in a pie, like a pie crust. So he's done some interesting things, and I think like water pie, which I don't even know what water pie is, but it's just funny when he goes through some of the ingredients, because like he did a Civil War cake, and during wartime, things are different, ingredients are different, things back then weren't as bountiful, so you might have had to skate by with whatever you could, so you just put a bunch of things together and hope it turned out good and people would eat it. And there are some things where he just absolutely cringes when he eats it, and then there are some things that he can't believe he liked after he made it.
Very interesting. What's up with the hair?
Well, he's got some style,
He's got some style.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I could only dream of having hair that wavy and flow.
Crystal, you requesting that Craig does his hair like that?
I don't think I could pull that off.
Yeah, I don't think it can.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
have
think I
much
could
hair
pull
left.
that off. No.
Okay. Very good. Crystal, any other thoughts about old B. Dillon Hollis?
No.
Okay.
He just, I want to see more of his videos. I want to get to know him more. But yeah, he seems
Okay.
pretty cool. I think I'll give him a little follow.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
1.27 million subscribers. So
Yeah,
he's got himself quite a following. I'll tell you.
absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, pretty high energetic and everything. I'm pretty impressed. Craig, you picked a winner. This is good. We got different people picking stuff, which really helps. Craig, let's talk a little bit about next week. Our friend, I think we could mention what the behind the scenes, what we're thinking. Craig's friend, he's introduced him to us, and he's all of our friends now. How about that? The great Dan Tierney, who serves as a spokesman for Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. We're talking about coming on soon, hopefully as early as next week. It sounds like we're going to be able to pull that off. Not 100% that Dan could come, but let's do this video. Fran DeWine, the governor's wife, is an avid cook. We've joked about her cooking skills. It was interesting. I started to think about the DeWines earlier tonight. We were running a little bit late for church yesterday, Craig, and Danae King, our friend who writes religion for the Columbus Dispatch, wrote a story from a Dispatch about Amy Acton was speaking this weekend at a downtown church about her new initiative. And Craig, my daughter is 9. Well, no, she just turned 10. And she loves Amy Acton. We almost went there for my daughter to meet her. It'd been great. Oh. But, I watched some of Amy Acton on YouTube today. Made me think of COVID. Made me think about the DeWines. So we have a 7.5-minute video of Fran DeWine sharing her recipes. And we're going to watch it next week. It should be interesting.
If we talk to Dan, we got to get him to send us some Buckeyes, Fran DeWine Buckeyes. I'd love to try some of her cooking.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing some of the behind-the-scenes stories, because Mike's a smaller in stature guy. Can I say that? Well, no, what I'm saying is, okay, here's the problem. I'm a big guy. I'm not talking height, I'm talking weight. Okay, I'm a big guy. Fran DeWine makes some Buckeyes that are amazing. Yeah. If I was related or married to Fran DeWine, I would be at least 10,000 pounds. because how can you be married or family? I mean, bravo, Mike DeWine, because Mike DeWine's a small stature guy. Mike DeWine should be 1,000,000,000 right now because of Fran DeWine's cooking. I need to ask questions about that. I didn't go the other route, Craig. I saw your face. I think you got a little bit worried there for a second. I'm talking more about weight. I mean, bravo to Mike DeWine for having restraint. Not eating too much. Because here's my problem.
Yeah.
If I was married to someone who made food like Fran DeWine, I would be doing nothing but cooking. I mean, my hobby would be eating and Fran's food, and I would be I would balloon up like a crazy man. So yeah, I'm interested in asking about that. So with or without Dan Tierney, we're gonna talk about Fran DeWine's cooking.
All right, exciting. That's good news.
Have you covered a Mike DeWine event, Craig?
I actually did. Way back when he was the Attorney General, I covered a sort of a blanket media event to sort of discuss like the pitfalls of the opioid epidemic. But I have never talked to him specifically in person, like face to face, one on one. Of course, as we all know, I certainly did with Dan Tierney way back when he was the Attorney General. Dan Tierney was his communications officer, and I talked to Dan Tierney quite a bit when I was in Fremont and Port Clinton. So definitely know Dan pretty well, and he was always a friendly face and a friendly voice to talk to when I was a journalist in Ohio.
Well, I mentioned this way. One thing that Governor DeWine's been known for, and I think he still does this now, is when you go cover him, he brings cookbooks. Like it was strange. Yeah. He spoke about opioids. It may have been the same tour. I covered him in Mansfield when he was the Attorney General, and he had like a little table where he had some trinkets there, and there's some DeWine cookbooks. So we cover him. We all talked to him. He was in the middle of a circle where we were asking questions about his policies and everything. And we're like, "Thank you, sir. We need to go." So we walked out the door, and he's calling after us. Did you pick up one of her cookbooks? And I'm like, oh. Yeah. And you feel weird because as a journalist, you shouldn't be accepting anything. And he's like, pick up her cookbooks. He got really stern. I'm like, all right, I'll pick up a cookbook. It's very weird.
Yeah. Well, I actually probably would have enjoyed getting a cookbook just to see what Fran DeWine has to offer in a cookbook. That'd have been kind of fun to pick it up. And you never use it. But hey, maybe you make those Buckeyes. I'm assuming the Buckeyes will be in the cookbook. They better be in the cookbook.
Yes. Well, I think the video we're watching tomorrow is specific. Well, not tomorrow. Next week is specifically about the Buckeyes. So
okay.
We got to talk with Dan Tierney though. Hopefully, talking about Fran's Buckeyes will be okay. It's election season. I think there's a little bit of nerves going on right now at the State House. So yeah, it will be nice. Maybe I got to rewrite that question about Governor DeWine's stature. But again, I'm just talking weight. I mean, he's a smaller guy, which is great. And again, bravo to him because, man, if I ate Fran DeWine's cooking all the time, it'd be crazy. So, I don't know. Crystal, I know you're not living in Ohio anymore. How important is the spouse of the governor's cooking to you? I mean,
I like DeWine, so I'd be interested in like hearing more about it or checking it out. So
okay.
I still appreciate, even though I'm trying to see now, I still appreciate DeWine. So
I bet he has a pretty good voting block of people who like cooking. Craig?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
He was whether you liked his politics or not, you have to appreciate him getting out in front of the camera every day during the pandemic and giving us a little bit more behind the scenes of who he really was that you never usually would get, and it was probably thanks to the pandemic that you got to know him, or you felt like you got to know him more, and Fran was part of that, I think, too, and being able to kind of explore their relationship a little bit with the cooking and just the adoration they have for each other. So it's kind of cool to see.
we joked about being Ohioan that we should host a governor debate. Maybe we miss our true calling because we're not Meet the Press, and there's a bunch of other better state house politics programs than ours, which is fine. I mean, that's something we're called to do. But maybe what we should have done is it should have a spouse cook-off. Fran DeWine against. I think Nan Whaley's married, right?
I don't know.
Okay, or a friend of a spouse or whatever, if she's not married. We got a big cook-off, Craig. We miss. I think we may have been able to pull that off.
Wouldn't it be fun if we just did like a cook-off between the candidates? Like,
yeah,
make your best dish. Maybe that might go a long way in earning you some extra votes.
I would probably think the wine would win because I'm sure, like the night before, Fran would have made him something, and he'd be like, "Oh, this is my cooking." I'm like, "Oh my god,
this
Governor,
is the pie that I made last night." Yeah.
Yeah. You're in my Buckeyes. Whoa, Governor, you're an amazing cook. What's going on?
Just like Fran's, yeah.
Hey, Governor. Are you cheating again with your cooking? Come on. Oh, that could be a scandal there. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, so we got to be really careful what we ask Dan Tierney next week.
Yes.
Dan's probably listening to this going, why did I ever tell him I may come on next week? We blew our chance with Dan Tierney. This is rough. So, all right. Well, Crystal, this has been great. Next segment, we're going to talk about E. coli. So if you want to say anything, feel free. But thanks for coming on. This is our first spouse segment where the spouse agreed to come on. They agreed to be use their names and everything, which is fantastic. Man,
I
Craig.
appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Oh no, our pleasure. This is I'm pleasantly surprised, and I really mean pleasantly. This is good. All right, so a couple real quick promos before we take off. Again, Cash App. My goodness, if I had more money and I would pay my guests for appearances, I would say, Crystal, do Cash App so I can pay you. I don't have any money, so I can't pay. But, Cash App's a great way of sending money back and forth to each other. Download the Cash App, attach your account to it, you'll get paid. Hey, we'll get paid too, so it's a good agreement both ways. So check out Cash App. Craig, no Bob this week, right? Is that what you said, or...?
I think we're going to have Bob this week. I'm not 100% sure, but okay. Last week was our off week, but I think we're going to get back at it this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. No, it was George you talked to.
I talked to George last week, yeah. He had reviews of She-Hulk and House of the Dragon, the new Game of Thrones prequel. So we'll be back at it again with more streaming and more news, but haven't really nailed down a firm show just yet because there's not really a lot going on at the theaters these days. It's kind of a light period for the movie theater releases.
Well, pretty newsy. I mean, She-Hulk got a lot of publicity, and House of the Dragon. Did George like that?
He did. He actually liked both shows very much.
Okay.
So yeah, he enjoyed both shows.
Yeah, House of the Dragon is the new, the prequel to the. Obviously, the very popular Game of Thrones.
And apparently it broke the HBO Max app, which I mean, at the time we weren't watching, but apparently it was so popular, it basically shut down the HBO Max app. And it drew nearly 10 million viewers, according to the Hollywood Reporter. So a big debut and much needed publicity for HBO, at least good publicity this time around.
Yeah, the only other TV news I wanted to mention, kind of bummed out about this. Speaking of HBO and this new Warner Discovery network, a popular guy on CNN, his time on the show came to an end. It wasn't a Gannett cut. Brian Stelter, he does the Reliable Sources program. I gotta admit, I wasn't a weekly watcher of it, but I always liked following Brian on Twitter. A lot of comments about the media, what's happening there. CNN just decided to go in a different direction, and it'll be interesting to see where Brian ends up next, Craig. I haven't heard anything yet. I would assume he would land somewhere. I would think Brian calls it down the line, but with some of the comments Brian's made politically, I would guess if he ends up going to another network, maybe MSNBC, who knows? It'll be interesting to see where he ends up. So, fairly well, Brian Stelter. I'm sure he'll be active on Twitter. It's just kind of a bummer we don't get to hear him as much now since he's leaving CNN. All right, well, that's it for us. We're going to come back for one shorter segment, Craig. And then also check out tonight, later on, it'll be me and Pierre Holland. Craig's got the open invitation to come on whenever he wants. Heck, Crystal has the open invitation. I want to hear what Crystal thinks about NFL football. Crystal, are you a fan at all?
I'm a supporter.
A supporter, okay.
I'm a Brown supporter for my daddy and Craig's teams.
She's a Lions fan at heart. Pretty
Okay.
evident.
All right. Well, for Crystal and Craig, this is Chris. Have a great day, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mooney. Welcome to what is our new Hope Interrupted podcast based on the work from our book, Hope Interrupted, that I co-authored with my good friend Byron McCauley.
Hey, Jennifer, I'm looking forward to this podcast as much as I was looking forward to writing this book with you. We hope to interview some high-impact folks as well as have a little fun.
We're going to cover stories of hope. To learn more about our podcast and our book, please visit www.hopeinterrupted.com.